Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Erdman. I'm a solutions engineer at Latera, and we will be doing the Workshare compare installation and talk about configuration as well. This is going to be broken down into two parts: installing with an EXE, which we will demonstrate, and I will also give you some information if you install with an MSI. So, as an overview, you're going to run the EXE installer. It will automatically check for prerequisites and install any if they're missing. You'll accept both license agreements, put in your license code, customize for DMS, or if you want to change the Office integration. Otherwise, you can just install as is. And then it will run the compare installations for all three products. And in the end, it will run a configuration assistant to finalize the install. Once that's done, we're going to place the configuration registry files for a custom configuration and also for a custom rendering set. But for those of you who are interested in MSI installation information, I've also done an overview here, and you're going to extract the MSIs from the EXE. You have to manually check that all the prerequisites are there before you run the MSI installers. It will be done in compare, then compare for PowerPoint, compare for Excel. Order is important. And then you're going to place any custom configuration registry files and any custom rendering sets. Once completed, you have to run the configuration assistant, and it's mandatory when installing with the MSIs. So in front of you, you see a sample of an installation script which can be customized for your environment. Items in yellow are things that you're going to need to change: path of the installer, your license key. If you're installing with a DMS, you should look at the installation guide to get your DMS code. If you're not, then you should remove from install through to the 1, and you can also log, and I didn't highlight it here, but the /L all the way down is the logging, and this is the line item that where you would place your registry key, and not shown here. You would just have to put a file in the location I'm going to show you during the next part of this installation. And then you run the configuration assistant. This is the mandatory piece. It finalizes the installation, and a log is created automatically. So if you do run into issues and you need to contact support, you'll know where to get a log file from. So on the screen, I have the compare bundle. I have the license file, I have a registry key, and I have a custom rendering set that we are going to use for this installation. So once you download from the Customer Center, be sure to right-click on the EXE and make sure it's not blocked. You have to just go into right-click Properties and make sure that there's no blocked setting here. If it is, unblock it before you start the installation. So we're going to go ahead and do this installation. Double-click on the EXE. When it comes up, click Next. Accept the license agreement, click Next. Accept the license agreement again. And you input your license key. I flew right past it. Now, if you're going to do a customized install, I'm going to click on that just for the demonstration purposes, but if you're not making any changes, then you can just click Install. But if you want to turn on or off the integration with Word, PowerPoint, Excel, or Outlook, and this is where you would do it, you click Next. If you're using a DMS, you make sure your DMS is selected, and if it's not, make sure you select it. Then you click Install. Then the installation runs. Of course, it ran very quickly on this machine, but it will have some screens that will come along and will walk you through, and you'll have a progress bar as it goes along. So, but for this demonstration, we moved it along fast. So at this point, I can click Open Workshare Compare, but I'm just going to click Finish. And I have two things that I need to place in order to have my custom configuration. So depending on your environment, you may have to open the registry as an admin and then import. In my computer, I am able to just double click and add it to the registry. Click OK. So the registry is added, and then I need to put my custom rendering set in place. The custom rendering set is, I'm going to launch and I'll show you so you can follow along, is going into users, public, public documents, Workshare, rendering, and this is the standard rendering sets. So since we have a custom rendering, we're going to paste it there. This is the location where you put any custom rendering sets that you want to have available to anybody who logs into the machine. Users have the ability to create their own, and just for your knowledge, when it is created for a user, it goes into their document. So if we look at mine, Urbanel Documents, Workshare Rendering, this is where I have my custom ones. And these are not deployed. Nobody else will see them except the user that they're applied to. So now we're going to go into compare and, well, into the administrator so I can show you about configuring and how you export the settings that you need. So program files, Workshare, modules, and I'm sorted by application, and the program that you're going to launch is Workshare Configuration Admin Console. And the Admin Console has protection, comparison, general, and integrations. For the user version of this, they will not see the protection. It will only show the compare. This is the back end for the full product. So we're going to look at administration. And what I'm going to show you is when you make a change, how to save that change and how I got to the deployment registry key. So for this instance, we're just going to make one change and default email attachment format. So let's go to PDF. So we'll save it as a PDF, and now you can see that there's a change icon. While we're in here and before I save, I want to highlight a few things that you should think about in your environment as to how you want the program to behave. There's a lot of settings in here, and you can reference the configuration settings document that you can download from the Customer Center within the documentation portion. But these are a few that I make recommendations when I assist customers. So firstly, addressing what you want your format to be, so you set that by default. In the user interface, you should turn off these two. I already have them turned off. And under general, user interface, integrations. So I recommend that for Compare for PowerPoint, the default save format should be PDF. By default, out of the box, it's WCFP, Workshare Compare for PowerPoint file type. But if your users are sending out a file and they are sharing it with somebody who is not a user of Workshare Compare, they won't be able to open the file. So I recommend putting it as a PDF for those people who just click through. Here is where you can make any changes to how your file names are going to be saved by default. Within the documentation, you'll have the information, but this represents version 1 and this represents version 2, and you have all of your different options, so that's something for you to review. Set the default format when saving. Generally, the two go together, so I'm going to save that and change that to PDF as well. So now I have these change icons from the changes that we made. So if we go back, and we had one here also. So now you want to save those and you want to be able to deploy them when you're doing your installation. So the first thing you want to do is click Apply. By clicking the Apply button, you have the option between local machine and current user, but because we know we're an administrator, you just click the apply button and it applies it to both. And so now the button is grayed out. Now we want to save those registry keys that changed and deploy. We don't need the full registry set because out of the box all the settings are already applied, so you only need to deploy what's different from the original. So we're going to click this down arrow next to save and choose save deployment script. We're going to choose the environment. I am a 32 Workshare on 64-bit OS. I'm just going to do the local machine. And then here is where you choose 4 options with deployment icon, and that was the green icon, and you choose your location. So we're just going to save this as custom rendering, custom configuration, sorry. And we'll click the save button. And then you click save again, and now those files are available. And I'm just going to minimize this for a moment and go back to the desktop. And here we have the configuration that I just did. And I'm just going to edit it so you can see. So now those are the changes that we made. And now you can just deploy those as part of your package. So secondary to this is rendering set. So now we finished with the options, we're going to move over to rendering set manager. So on the rendering set manager, there are also a few points that I think should be addressed when you're deciding what you need to do. So how to detect changes to images. You have additional options here for pixel by pixel, do not compare, or just insertions and deletions. So that may be something that you want to change. But do you want to include a report? Like there's a report that happens when it's in compare. Do you want to include it when you convert to track changes? File names in redline statistics. Out of the box, it will give the full file name and the path if you don't want to show any server locations or where these files were located. You can change that to file names only. I'm going to do that just so I can show you how to save the rendering set. Author for the track changes, by default it's the modified author. You can choose original, modified, or the current user, and what some firms are doing is choosing other and then they put their firm name. So what appears is the firm instead of a username. So as far as that, that's just some of the configuration recommendations there. The rest of these are generally out of the box. If you go to redline rendering, this is where you can change colors. So here I want this to be blue and not black. And then I have deleted text. I'm going to change to the red, and move text we're going to make green. And the reason I'm showing you this is so that you can see that it shows you right out of in this preview what your red line is going to look like when it's done. So I'm going to click Save As. As Install and Configure Demo. And now we're done. So now we need to go and look and get a copy of that file. So let's go browse to Documents, Workshare, Rendering, and you can see it saved it as a user. So I'm going to take this piece. I need to put that into the place for public use. So I go to this PC, see users, public documents, Workshare, rendering, and this is where we placed it before, and now you have that rendering set that we just created available. Lastly, let's just launch the application. And I want to show you here. So we're just going to select a set of documents, original, modified, and now I want to show you that here's these custom renderings that we were talking about. So this, and here's the one, install and configure demo, and the reason it's showing up twice is because I didn't push it out, didn't pull it out of my personal documents. So we're just going to go back to documents, Workshare rendering, because we put it in as a firm one but didn't remove it from the personal ones. So now we'll relaunch, and now you can see that it's gone. So that is it for the installation and configuration. The installation guide, there's configuration option guide. It's all on the Customer Center, where you can download all of the files and your license keys that you need for this. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.